Hello, everyone. Starseeds, Lightworkers. Welcome to today's teachings and workshop. So in today's teaching, let us talk about how to work with the Akashic Records and how to link it and integrate it in our healing practices, such as healing the aura, healing karmic blockages in relationships or within ourselves, or changing, shifting negative patterns into more positive way of thinking or being. So let's talk a little bit about the Akash. Now, those of you that are new to my channel or new to my teachings, the Akash is just like us. It is multi-dimensional. A lot of times when we tune into the Akashic Records, we think that it looks like a book. This is someone's Akashic Records, and we think that here is one page, and this is one lifetime. This is actually the very basic understanding of the Akash. The Akashic Records is actually not like this book at all. It is a hologram. It is dynamic. It is changeable. There's different frequency. Some channels have called it the higher Akash or organic Akash. And then there's a lower Akash, inorganic Akash, or sometimes I've heard people say the AI created Akash as well. So as healers, as the 144 light workers, right, that are vibrating into this frequency, when we are working with the Akash, we always need to bring the intention that we are here to mend timelines and to help us cohere our consciousness back to the higher organic Akash. Now, when we are reading into past life as a past life healer, what sometimes people's higher self will show me is an image of a rope. So when we think of a rope, right, and this is like, I am not an artist, a representation of a rope braiding together, we see that everything is in coherence, right? Everything is one, it's very secure. So what happens when our cash looks like this? It reflects into our consciousness. Ideally, this is what we called the enlightened state. This is what we call the healed state, right? So we want the Akash and the consciousness to be cohered with one another. Another way to depict it is using the sine wave, right? This is harmony, coherence. When there is incoherence or disharmony or blockages, what happens instead of it looking like this is that Akash will look like there's a timeline falling off. There's a feel frayed timeline here. And it doesn't look very coherent. It looks like things are branching off, it's fragmenting. It's not as nice, right, as the healed and coherent state. So sometimes when you see images like this as a healer, as a channeler, is that person's higher self or their spirit guides communicating with you that there is this coherence in their Akashic records, which also is related to their consciousness. The consciousness as well is also multidimensional. When I work with people's higher self in a healing session, sometimes their higher self will show me where I need to tune into. Every single part of your body is a consciousness, yes? Your liver has a consciousness, has a soul. Your heart has a consciousness, has a soul. Your brain has a consciousness and has a soul. So every single organ, down to the cells, down to the particles, has its own consciousness. So, for example, in a recent session, I was working on someone's liver, and their higher self shows me that in their liver, the consciousness doesn't look like this. The consciousness look like this. There's multiple static is what I call them. It looks like this, a little bit, spiky, is not coherent. It's kind of like a little all over the place. So that's when I know that if this is what's happening in their liver, we need to help it heal so that the consciousness of the liver vibrates at this picture. Now, healing sometimes takes time. Interesting statement, isn't it? Sometimes even at the end of one session, and sometimes we had this idea of, oh, we can heal like hundreds of timelines in one session. Sometimes it's possible, but sometimes instead of it being like this in the beginning of a session, at the end of the session you will see that the person's liver consciousness might look a little bit more like this now, right? It's not still as cohered as the divine state, but at least, right, it is trying to match that vibration. So this is what we're doing. This is our job as a healer, is for us to bring back coherence in both the consciousness and the Akash of our state of being. Now, when I talk about Akashic as a multidimensional entity, right, or not entity, like a dimension, same thing, right, with your consciousness. Our consciousness of multiple layers, the interchangeable, same thing as the Akashic records. So sometimes I hear people, and this is just my humble opinion, saying the Akashic records doesn't exist, and I'm like, but your consciousness exists, and your consciousness is linked to the Akash. So the Akashic exists, and consciousness is one of the first being in the casual realm. So as much as sometimes the spiritual ego like to think that it knows everything, there are certain state of truth that we do, right? We are subjected to in this dimension. So does everything make sense so far, everyone? Let me just check the comment to see if there's any questions. Hi, Zanetara. Good to see you, divine sister. Hi, Barbie. Nice to see you. Hi, Slavi, Stefan, Eve. Really good to see you too. It's been a while. Yes, today is the full moon. Hi, Shannon. Good to see you. And Fabiola, Charlotte, Dyla, and Anna. Good to see my tribe, my community here. So this makes sense. Yes, this depiction of the Akash, the consciousness. Now, when we are healing a certain pattern, this is what we are aiming to do. I'm gonna just clean this off. I know there's a lot of like AI technologies now, but I am still an old school millennial. I use AI too, but if I can teach in a wholesome way, then I'll do it. And old school way, it's like a direct channel of my heart into the board. So, all right, let's use an example. Oops. You have a person, right? Could be you, could be someone you're working on, and then another person. This person could be someone that you're having trouble with, or it could be someone that your client is having trouble with. A lot of light workers, we have this pattern where we struggle with low self-esteem, insecurities. We sometimes find ourselves in situations where we are bullied. What does it look like in a person's energetic body? So if we were to tune in using our third eye, this is what would happen. Right? Let's say you have childhood trauma, being bullied, and now you're in workplace and you're like, why am I attracting these same people? And the same person act differently towards other people compared to you. And this is the reason. So there is a lot of us have foundational knowledge of the energy center, right? We have the solar plexus, the throat chakra. When someone is really struggling with unhealed trauma in their energetic body, let's pretend this is yellow for the solar plexus. Instead of the solar plexus being a nice open center, right, that projects forward and backwards like vortexes in your body. Let me just add like, here's the person's nose, right? Here's the side. All the artistic gene in my family went to my sister, so. So here's the solar plexus. If you're healthy and well with no trauma, it looks very balanced, it's open on both sides. And if you're interacting with someone who's also balanced, ideally, it will look the same. Same thing with your throat chakra, which is your center of expression, purpose, leadership. should be open like this. And this is like a very simplistic depiction too, just for explanation's sake, right? So this is a very harmonious state of being. Have you been in a situation with someone that has really harmonized aura next to you? You feel like you hang out with them and you don't feel drained at all. In fact, sometimes what happens is you synergize each other's energy and both of you feel more energized by the end of the interaction. That's in the ideal world. Now, as a person who struggle with blockages, let's say feeling insecure, right, having low self-esteem, low maybe confidence, and having trouble making decisions, like trouble making decisions, right? These are all energy draining if we let it sit in our body for a very long time. Now, what happens then is that instead of this open and balanced state, the solar plexus becomes very small in the front or in the back. Right? It's like that. When we look at it deeper, more advanced, with more advanced spiritual abilities, you can see into the chakra as well and in the auric field specific blockages. Sometimes it looks like a rip, a rupture in the chakra. Sometimes it might look like there's a hook, right? Sometimes it looks like a dark cloud that's covering the chakra, so it's not as bright as it should be. Sometimes even there's entities that lives in the chakra as well, right? To kind of like a parasite feeding the energy in that center. So advanced master healers and high priestesses, we can tune in and see the details of the blockage itself. So once we know the blockage, it becomes easier to release that layer. Now, like a puzzle in the universe, when your centers are underactive, who do you automatically attract like a piece of puzzle? Someone with an overpowered, right, throat chakra. Someone that speaks over you, doesn't pause and give you a chance to talk. Someone that has an overly loud voice that seems to cut you off all the time. Someone that might ask you how you're doing, but before you could answer fully, they are talking about themselves. Kind of the classic self centered, or in extreme cases, narcissist, right? So this is the person with that auric field. Their solar plexus, a lot of times, and this is in general, right? Not every single one is like that, has a very overpowering solar plexus. So when this person walks in a crowd of people, it's like a puzzle. It gets linked into you like, this is why sometimes when we have unhealed trauma, we still attract the same people to re-trigger these patterns because we have not addressed the energetic, the body, the consciousness. And so then what we need to do to get ourselves out of this situation or this pattern is to strengthen our chakras again, to strengthen these energy centers so that this person's overactiveness doesn't automatically become a vibrational puzzle to our energetic body. Does that make sense so far, everyone? So to do this, right, is you can do this through a lot of ways. Today's topic is Akash. So how do we address this in terms of a master healer? I'm going to also wait. So, and let me know if you have any questions in the comment as well as we go through this workshop. So within the auric field, then there are three major layers of existence. You can break it down even more, actually. When there's a person, there is, let's very simplistically explain it, there's the physical dimension of our existence, right? Our body, right here, right now. There's the astral layer of our existence. The astral layer is usually where sometimes when someone passed over, when they transition or died, right, we see their spirit in the astral realm. And the astral realm is huge. Sometimes we think the astral realm, or we were taught the astral realm is just where past spirit lives, but there's actually a whole universe, a whole dimensions that exist there too. Then you have the casual realm, or the light realm. And then you have what some of us call source, some of us call God, some of us call universal, unified consciousness. A lot of times we were taught that we are physical beings and we will enter the gates of heaven and that's it, right? But those of us that believe in reincarnation, we know that it's the opposite. We start off as sparks of consciousness from pure bliss, God consciousness first. Then we exist in the causal realm, then astral, then the physical realm. So ascension comes in 3 stages now. We have the physical ascension. We have then the next stage is the astral ascension, and then causal ascension, and then back to unified source. So physical ascension is kind of like what you and I are experiencing now, is on the physical level. We're learning how to release ourselves, right, from the matrix, from karmic patterns. And then once we reach the higher dimensions, right, we also still have astral karma to work through, but the astral karma is a lot less dense in the physical realm. In the astral realm, you can bilocate, you can go to other planets, you can explore. And that's why a lot of you that have lived in the astral realm for a lot of time and you're here in this physical incarnation, you bump into things. Like I do that all the time. Like I'll walk, like the spatial awareness is just not there. My husband witnessed that all the time, where you bump into doors and be like, what do you mean? Like it should have fit, or I should have passed through that thing. And a lot of astral beings too, when they come down, they're very creative being, because in the astral realm, they really appreciates beauty. A lot of astral higher dimensional beings, they are so interested in earth, rather they are in the higher Venus or higher Arcturus, or other realm. They look at us and they try to study beauty. They also like to expand, right, in their astral consciousness experiences of beauty. So let's say, some of us ascend now from the physical body. The next stage of evolution is to complete the astral karma, and then we reach into the casual. This is usually where the saints, the Buddhas, and ascended masters are. And then they would choose to merge back to source when it's time. So there's no rush when it comes to ascension, because there's stages that you reach through. Now, with that being said, the physical body, right, is your physical layer. The astral body can also be divided into your emotional body, emotional body, and then the mental body. And then in the causal plane, you can subdivide this too, but all of this encompasses the light body. Right? So here, what are we doing when we're working with, for example, light codes? Light codes works on this layer, right? The casual layer of your existence, which is your light body. So if you're in the spiritual journey now and you're wondering, well, what's the purpose of all these like light body activation? Why do we want to work with light codes? Is because we're working on the casual field. We're working on activating your light body. From my experience, the light body oftentimes, because it's the highest aspect of your existence, right? Out of these 3 fields, usually it just needs to be activated. I don't see a lot of blockages in the light body. Some channelers out there will see, oh, you need to heal the light body. I've never encountered that. I've never seen anyone's light body needed healing. I believe what they're trying to say is that the light body needs activation. It looks like when you play some video games and you're exploring the map, the parts that hasn't been explored is like blurred, right? And then as the character goes in the map, it lights up for them. That's like the light body. So every time you do a light body activation, every time you work with light codes, you're activating and turning on sections of your light body. Right. So someone that's very well versed in this area would be a healer or channeler that's really good at doing that type of work, light body activation, working with light codes, tuning and checking into people's light body to see how it's doing. Seeing upgrades, activations. Like when I tune into people and I want to check into their light body, their higher self shows me sometimes upgrades in the light body, flames, sometimes crystal crowns, sometimes scrolls, right, that imbue into their hands. That's the example of light body activation. Light body activation is really helpful for those of you that might be struggling with chronic health problems, right? The casual realm is not governed by prana. It is simply light, right? So if you're struggling with a chronic illness and your energy is already low, you don't have a lot of prana to put into the astral and the physical healing yourself. So to do your self healing, right, working with your light body activation, working with light codes, right? I should write this down too. Light codes, which is what I talk about a lot. And one of my priestess reminded me that I had a workshop on light codes. So any one of you that's new to my channel, you can check out that light codes workshop. This will help with healing this causal field. And as you heal and activate this causal field, the effect of it is going to seep down into the physical body. So those of you that struggle with chronic blockages, or if you have a lot of pain or have not enough energy, I would suggest going through this layer in your self-healing. If you don't have a lot of chi already and you try to do Reiki, you try to do chakras in a very chronically ill state, it's like a car that don't have fuel and you pressing on the pedal to try to go forward. This is why I sometimes see clients or students reach a plateau and they might tell me, I'm doing this chakra balancing or chakra healing work, but now my health is going down, or it was really working and then I hit a plateau. That's the reason. If we don't address the different layers of healing, or if that mode of healing served you one time, but if again you use it all the time, like that car low on fuel and you try and press on it, then it's going to be harder on your body. The exception of that is sometimes there are exceptions where people do find a lot of healing through Reiki, but they do it by listening to their intuition when the time is right, when they feel a little bit more less pain, when they feel a little bit more energetic, then they do the healing on themselves. The astral body layer, so I can go on and on about this. Mental, emotional. So when it comes to healing, these two layers, right, a little bit denser than your light body. This layer is still governed by prana and chi. So astral beings still have prana as well. These two layers, right, are a little lighter than the physical as well. So that's when the spiritual world or the wellness world, we talk about mindset, healing the beliefs, healing the emotional body, the inner child, is because by healing this lighter layer, it then benefits the physical body, right? So understanding these three layers and what layer you are good at is going to be really helpful on your healing journey, whether you are a healer for others or you are receiving healing yourself. So for example, right, I talked about the casual field type of healer that does light codes, right, light body, channeling, they infuse light codes into crystals and so forth. Then you have astral healers. Astral healers addresses the mental and emotional body. Those of you that are really good at tuning into people's emotional body, inner child. I have students like that. They are not drawn to this realm, but they are very good at working with people's inner child. You also have other type of healers that are good at working with the mental body, thoughts, forms, mindset, right, and beliefs. Then you have healers that are good with the physical, the qigong masters, the let's say uh, even just basic working out, right? Physiotherapists and so forth, right? So very interesting. Our evolutionists, I would love to see more and more of these physical therapists learn energy healing. Sometimes you go to a massage therapist and you feel worse when you first enter and you're like, oh God, what happened? So if they can have the curriculum, right, to teach about energy body, I think that we would benefit not only for the therapist but also the client as well. Now, makes sense so far before I moved on to now the Akash. Um, let's see, I went through this a couple of days ago. To access the Akashic field, do you recommend a specific type of invocation or meditation? So really good question. So definitely use an invocation in all of our sessions and workshops that I've ever done. I always use an invocation. The invocation, it's like an example, GPS. If you go to somewhere where you don't go often or have not been before, you want to type in the directions, right? So you're telling the GPS where you want to go. Same thing spiritually. When you travel to a certain realm, Akash. When you want to access the Akash, you need to also set that direction as well. Okay. So invocation is really helpful. And my advice is this is what I need to talk about as a community, right? All of us should safeguard this. The Akashic Records, working with Akashic Records, and especially working on other people's Akashic record is highly sacred. It's not just something that, like, yeah, I think I can do it. I have empathic abilities. I see this is the shadow of the spiritual community, is that sometimes people think that they can do something, but they actually have not received enough training to do so. That's like saying you want to become a surgeon and perform heart surgery without going to med school. Okay? So, as a community, we have to bring on this responsibility. If we want to work on other people's Akashic records, we have to receive proper training. We have to, right, take that responsibility and is saying it's not just about me, it's about my client. It's our accountability and responsibility to receive that proper guidance. So let's put that out there, right? Training is a sacred way to honor yourself and those that you're going to serve. That's why in all the classes, right, workshops and courses, I always thank my students because it takes a certain level of consciousness to say, I want to do this work and I take it seriously, and I would invest my time, money, and effort into doing a good job. So I think it's really important. So that links to also the meditation as well, is when you have a mentor, you have someone that can guide you on your path. You're not just blindly kind of trying to figure it out. Having a mentor also helps, right, accelerate your pace faster. So that's why you're here now, right? That's why you're learning together with me right now, is that mentality and that mindset, amplification of energy. I always feel connected to the 9D, not sure why. That's a lot of people is connected to the 9D as well. 9D is like hovering in this layer, higher astral and a little like in the lower casual field. This makes so much sense. Awesome. I've never felt better since our quick meeting and have worked on bringing light into my light body to help me become like a funnel from source. That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear. Also, balancing and bringing more divine feminine flow, delegation. You helped me a lot in just a few minutes. Can't thank you enough. Oh, thanks, Lauren. So happy I caught this. Hello, welcome here with food, herbs, and supplement. Okay, cool. Now let's talk about the Akashic healing now. Okay. When we are working with the Akashic record as a healer, simply put, you can do it in two ways. There are more ways, but I'll teach two today. There's one way, which is like weeding, or what I would say, uprooting. Sometimes I also call it the horizontal vector of healing, right? And then there's also a vertical vector of healing as well. And sometimes you can combine both, but it takes a certain level of spiritual mastery. Horizontal vector healing is tuning into your Akashic records and your higher self and asking, I have this pattern in our example in the workshop today, self-insecurity, low confidence, lacking, decision-making ability. You can then ask your higher self to show you, right, to help you heal it horizontally. Horizontally is looking at all of the lifetimes or timelines, I should say, that are active and have this static, right, in the timeline. It has the same pattern that you're trying to heal across all of these timelines. So, for example, when I work with clients and they want to work on abundance blockages or fear of being in a relationship, we would tune into the Akash and see, okay, what are some lifetimes, right, that has this vibrating fear of being in a relationship. We're just going to look at it this way. And then through the healing, we're just going to pull all of these blockages out of these timeline so that they become, like my drawing earlier, coherence, a sine wave. Right? Instead of the static, there's coherence in these timelines. It's no longer blocked or heavy or dense, it's vibrating. And then what happens, everyone, when there's coherence across multiple timelines? The sine wave merges as one and it becomes a powerful sine wave, powerful harmony, powerful coherence in the consciousness, right? So this is how one way you can work with Akashic healing is horizontally, right? Kind of like weeding, you're uprooting every blockage that is vibrating in the same way. Another way that you can do it, and this is very common, is the vertical vector. The vertical vector is, I would ask the higher self, okay, we want to heal this pattern. Show me the core lifetime that is really activated right now that we can work on healing. Now, what this means is it is still the same thing. It's still these timelines, right? And they have these static, right, with the blockage there. But instead of going the horizontal way, I'm asking for the dominant, the really big ones, right, to be shown to me right now, because as we progress, right, everything shifts. So the higher self will show me these 3 lifetimes, right, compared to these other lifetimes who also still have that vibration, that blockage. These 3 lifetimes is more activated. It's affecting the present self the most. So then I would just channel and go into these 3 lifetimes to work on those 3 lifetimes to help the person heal the blockage so that these lifetimes, again, can become more cohered, right? And because these timelines are vibrating as such a strong signature, and if these are healed, what happens to these little guys that are next to it? With the law of vibration, they would have to shift as well, right? They will shift into a more cohered state of being. It's like striking a singing bowl, striking a drum, boom, heal these ones, and it creates a ripple effect to the other ones as well. So usually, right, this is how you would work with Akashic healing in terms of a pattern is you go into the dominant ones, right, through vertical vector, or you go across the lifetime and you just plug up and uproot any lifetimes that have that vibration. You can flip flop between these two methods. Like I sometimes find that a lot of sessions with certain clients will go really deep, right, into these lifetimes, 3 or 4 sessions in. And then the fourth session we will be guided by the higher self to just do a horizontal vector healing. So one or two can be helpful. Now, in terms of these two methods, it can be really helpful to know what your clear ability is. If you're clairvoyant, usually the vertical vector is more like a second nature to you. And that's where my fellow claircognizants gets struggled because they're like, well, I cannot see past life. So if I cannot see the past life, then I cannot help heal people and I'm not doing well because they're trying to become Wonder Woman when they are Batmans. It doesn't work. You're trying to force yourself to be a certain way. You need to learn how to use your gifts first. If you're more clear cognizant, the horizontal vector is equally powerful, but it does not require you to see in details what each timeline is about. So, for example, for a vertical vector session, right? I usually use this sometimes is in a 1 hour session, it might be 20 minutes reading and healing for that 3 lifetimes. And also horizontal vector as well. If you're more clairsentient and claircognizant, you can use your feeling and your senses, right, to help you decipher this. This can be very simple. You can ask their higher self or your higher self for the horizontal vector healing of the Akash. Okay, I'm not teaching too much detail about exactly how to do it because I'm not sure who's watching. I need to safeguard the teachings. So this is briefly what I will share today in the workshop. The reason of me holding back on this section is I don't want someone that might be watching and it's not in a mentally stable place try to do these methods on themselves. They might fracture their consciousness even more, and that would mean I'm not doing my job as a teacher. So those of you that are in the coherent space and you know what I'm talking about, this information will serve you exactly when and where you need it now or in the future. Okay? So all of the things that I'm sharing as well, though is free, please know that there's no monetary price tag that can be put on the teachings. So do thank Source, our higher selves, our beings of light that guides us, right? For the teachings, for the post-it notes, right? For the notes down here. And this is also as a community, many of you that are watching are my own students, right? That I'm training. We have to teach these values as well. These values oftentimes are not taught in a lot of the spiritual coaching space that we see now. It's just like become a spiritual coach and make a lot of money. I'm like, where is the moral? Where is the value? Where is the sacredness? So I'm like, okay, those of us that resonates right at that frequency need to safeguard these values and teach these values as a spiritual teacher. So any question about the workshop thus far? Any additional question, maybe even unrelated to the workshop as well, right? So both ways you can do by yourself, right? If you're at that level, if you are watching and you're someone that's really advanced, you can do this. But this now helps your mental body understand spiritually what's happening in a way that's easy to comprehend. When it's easy to comprehend, your ego then releases fear because it no longer fears it as something that's unknown. It feels, oh, pretty simple. Right. If you found this workshop helpful, or if you feel like someone will benefit from this, please share it with them. If you do share this teaching, please credit me and just bring people back to the original source. Because there's a lot of stuff still, right, that we need to reground to the basics and really honor the teachings itself. Okay. Let's see. Thank you for the explanation for us, clear cognizance. Awesome. So those of you that in a space where you want or you feel is ready for this horizontal healing, ask your higher self to guide you. Right? It's almost like it's like a meter, right? A meter that fills up, and once it gets to 100%, the healing is complete. For some people, it's the other way. It's like 100% of the blockage, and then as you sit, as you receive, right, the spiritual energy goes down. And sometimes it doesn't go down a lot; it goes down 10%. You're like, I'm grateful for that. I'll take 10%, right? And then you continue your practice, and then it goes down, down. Sometimes when you hit like a blockage, you might need to use another method to release the blockage. It might be inner child work, it might be shadow work, right? This is where you get that calling to call that specific healer or the specific therapist or coach to help remove that layer, and then you can continue releasing and going deeper and deeper. So all modalities have its place. All healers with different gifts have their place. Another third value that we as a community needs to safeguard is we need to honor each other's gifts. There's sometimes I see in the spiritual field, it's like only shadow work is the only thing you should do. But then why? Why should it be the only thing that we do? Light codes can be very helpful too. Everything has its place. I have so much gratitude for all you provide, Tiffany. Thank you, Wendy. Morals and living by non-harmed code is so important. How do you know if you are advanced? If you have a teacher that you follow, that you train with, and that you work with, a lot of people sometimes say, I don't need no teacher, right? And I'm not saying you because you asked the question, just like in general. That usually is a shadow that's unhealed, feeling unsafe around people, right? So once we feel safe around someone, and your right teacher will come up for you, your higher self is going to bring that teacher in your path, right? And you can learn from different teachers about different topics. That's usually where I see people advance the most. So don't be afraid to be a student, right? To learn. And when you're advanced, you really have reached a state of purification. And that purification can only be absorbed. There is the difference between knowing and the difference between being. A lot of people sometimes are in this phase. That's why sometimes I even hear a lot of misaligned teachings, right, in our communities, because most people think, or the spiritual ego thinks, they know, right? I know what it's like to be a light worker. Well, do you though? I ask myself too. It's like, do I? Am I embodying that? Am I challenging myself to do better every day? I know about this knowledge, but am I being, right, that knowledge? So this, to me, it's advanced between knowing, which is the initiate. The initiate knows about energy healing. The initiate knows about soul retrieval. the advanced practitioners become, right? So in this state, like when I'm teaching these workshops, I don't have to really plan it. I don't have to review it. Everything I just drew was on the spot, actually. Like I have a rough idea of the title, but as the word that comes up from my mouth and stuff is just from my state of being. If I didn't embody it, there's no way of me to teach it because I haven't really embodied it. So that's the difference between knowing and being. Right. So I would check in with yourself time to time, see if you feel that you're embodying the being, right? Or if you're just still in the stage of knowing. And it could be different aspect. Maybe in certain aspect, you're very good at being, but in other aspect, you're not yet. So self-realization is the ultimate path of spirituality, I feel. Everything that we practice should bring us closer to self-realization. Advanced enough to do horizontal factor and on healing on ourselves. So in terms of the healing, it's hard for me to speak because I don't know how much training you have or specific, hmm, like where you are at as a soul, right? But what you can do is ask your higher self. Sometimes your higher self is able to guide you in the session. If you are ever not sure, right, then continue to work and practice on your spiritual gifts. You'll be able to feel it. Like in my example, as you work on the blockages, you'll be able to sense and feel, right, each layer of it and what you need to do in the next step. So it's that self-realization that brings the key to help you know if you're ready or not. Even if you are not ready, right, your guides are going to show you what you need to do to get ready for that point. That's also why mystery school are called mystery school, because only those that have reached that frequency can find that mystery school. So those of you that are watching this video, it didn't pop up in your feed for no reason, means that you have reached a certain point of awareness that you're able to absorb the teaching. Now you know the teaching. Now it's now being, right? Being that teaching. Let's see. Hi, Tiffany. I'm so happy to have 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 this session, have joined this session, I've been trying to connect with you for a while, but really grateful to receive a reading. Hi, Donna. Welcome to see you. I'm not doing reading today. I actually, be honest, need to rest my third eye because I have been using it a lot. So usually when I pop in to do reading, I'm feeling I have so much extra energy and I come in and I share it. So sometimes we need to shake off the need, hi Mabel, to know to leap to the next level of being. That too, it's so vast when it comes to our spiritual path, right? So does everything make sense today in our workshop? Let me just double check that I have run through everything that I wanted, healing the aura, healing the mental body. Okay. One last thing I will share today in your auric field, in my example, same thing. You can do horizontal or vertical vector healing. Okay. Ask your higher self and tune in with your body. Your body oftentimes speaks to you more directly than spirit guides sometimes. So ask your body, for example, to show you a blockage, right? A blockage, a pattern that you're working on. And then your body might start to respond. You might feel a little tingling in the forehead. You might feel a little bloatedness in the stomach. You might feel a little tension in the shoulders. Now, from there, you can go and see, okay, which one is bothering me the most right now? Maybe it's the headache. I'm going to address that. Or if you feel like, hey, I can do all, right, 3 areas, you can also do that, right, through horizontal healing. Horizontal healings, depending on your skills, can be not as deep, but more encompassing. If you are very masterful level healer, you can combine the both. The horizontal healing can also be very deep as well, but that's master level healing. So tune into your aura when you're healing yourself. You can still use this method as well to check in with your body to see what your body needs from you. Right. So that's all I have for everyone today in terms of our teachings. I'll be doing more teaching workshops like this in the future. So make sure that you do join my newsletter. And you can find that on my website. Join me in the next workshop. Learn more about these spiritual concepts explained in a very easy, understood way. I am teaching courses still, so any one of you that is still interested in becoming a master healer, come and join me in our training courses. I am teaching light language. I am going to also teach light codes as well. Quite a few people have received their certification already as a light code healer. We're also going to talk about angelic light codes next month in the workshop. Be sure to sign up for my newsletter. Just go to my website, highpriestessascension.com. The angelic light codes workshop is going to be free. I do one of these workshops once a month, and it's not on YouTube, so it's more for a closer knit community, so I can really answer more questions and go a little deeper. At the time as well, I am also training master healers. So any one of you who wants to take this seriously and become a master level healer, I am training high priestesses and master soul alchemists if you are more in the masculine energy. Awesome. Oh, hi, Vidya. Nice to see you. It's been a while. Hi. Thank you, everyone. So I will see you on the next workshop. Have a wonderful day ahead. Much love, everyone. Bye.